Cruising Fleet Deputy Captain. And Brad, take it away.
Well, we're thrilled to have Chick and Alexis with us. They have the benefit of staying on San Diego part-time and the East Coast, Rhode Island, and during the summer. And they're going to talk to us today about quarter century of cruising Maine. Initially on their sailboat, and more recently on their powerboat. They're longtime members of the club. Chick is a champion racer and of the Beneteau fleet, one that he started, and their summer plans are always cruising with beautiful shots like the one you see. So I'm going to hand it over to Chick and Alexis. Take it away.
Thank you, Brad.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Bill. Pleasure to be here tonight. We are going to try to compress a quarter of a century of cruising into 30 minutes. So strap on tight because here we go.
Good.
So our journey takes us, some of you who were 2 years ago on that Rhode Island cruise, you know, I've got a little laser pointer here. So this is where we moor our boat. You can see that, and that's where we start from, and that's where all the yacht club members 2 years ago, and that's where all the yacht club members 2 years ago chartered their boats from, and that's where they dropped them off. But for those of you who were on that cruise, you will well know what this big red spot means. This is the epicenter of mudslides. It's an adult milkshake, and one is enough. Two is sometimes better. 3 times, not so sure. So anyway, the first night is never very far away. It's Cutty Hunk. It's about 25 miles.
That was Block Island, by the way.
Yeah, Block Island. So if you can follow the screen, number 1 up here, Cutty Hunk is where we stopped the first night to see if there are any bugs we have to work out. And then we check the tides, the currents going through Cape Cod Canal. Certainly if you go through in a sailboat, you really have to have the Eldridge and check the currents. There's no way you can get through. But anyway, going through in a powerboat, you still have to do the same thing, but it's a great ride. Then we stop and see friends where we used to live in Situate, Massachusetts, south of Boston. Then we shoot across to the North Shore, Marblehead or Gloucester, Rockport. It's very scenic, very beautiful. And then we our first stop in either New Hampshire or Maine. Actually, we have our choice depending on where we anchor. Is in the Isle of Shoals, a very mystical kind of a place. It's about 6 miles offshore. And then off into Kennebunkport. Are the video blocks blocking the text on the right side of the screen?
No.
Anybody?
No.
No, okay, good. So you can see Kennebunkport, number 6. And then we shoot across Casco Bay. We bypass Portland, go straight over to Monhegan Island. One of our favorite places, about 12 miles offshore, dip into Booth Bay Harbor, and then up to Penobscot Bay, where you can spend an entire summer if you want to, and drop a hook every night in a different place, and you'll never be there twice. And then you're off to Southwest Harbor, home of Hinckley Yachts, and lots of beautiful, beautiful cruising. And then Winter Harbor, scenic, idyllic, incredible. And usually the last stop in our journey is Roque Island, and we'll tell you why that's our last stop. Past that is Canada. And so anyway.
So we'll embellish on all of this as we go along in the presentation.
Here we go. Okay, Maine. What is Maine all about?
Well, there are more than 2,000 coastal islands in Maine. Now, 30 2,500 coastal miles more than California. San Diego to Boston is less than 3,000 miles. So do the math, you know, look at the topography and figure out from point to point. Maine's population is only 1.3 million people. San Diego's is 3.3. San Diego County is 3.3. You know, it's amazing how a beautiful, beautiful state is so big compared to what we have, but population-wise, not so much. Maine's only 31,000 square miles. California is 164 square miles. Oh, I'm sorry, 1,000. Don't have my glasses. None of us can understand that, right? Northernmost state in the contiguous 48 states. And then it was settled in 1604 as part of Massachusetts until it seceded in 1820. The Bible. This is the Bible Cruising Maine. It is a guide to the Maine coast, and Hank and Jan Taft have written this for 6 editions now. And what it has in it is anchorages, tides, locations, distances, grocery stores, laundries, things to do in any point that you're in Maine. Ours is now very old, but we refer to it all the time.
So we started the quarter century cruising Maine in sailboats, and this was the last sailboat we had, a great 45-foot passport designed by Bob Perry, very strong, very sturdy. You don't see any solar panels on the bimini. We added those a short while after this photo was taken. And then from sailboats, we went into this. Why did we go into this? Sort of explains it all. We can get from A to B and have more time to have fun and play around. And this is from the rear view mirror. It's a great sight. We can actually water ski if we wanted to. And so you might see you might notice the outboard there. It is a torpedo, right, Brad?
Yeah.
But as a friend of mine says to me about my torpedo, he says, you know, Chick, they also make outboards for adults. Anyway, so our first stop in Maine or New Hampshire, take your pick, is the Isle of Shoals. And if I can just buzz my little laser pointer around number 4, here we are. Nope, number 5. I'm sorry, I can't count. Here we are, it's 5. And so here's a couple of facts about
Isle of Shoals. It's a very interesting place. As you can see, it's on the Maine and New Hampshire border. So if you drop an anchor, you could either be in Maine or you can be in New Hampshire. It was discovered in 1614, 6 miles off the mainland, and settled by the Massachusetts Bay Colony. What's really interesting about this is Appledore, which is one of the islands that you need to put the laser on.
There's Appledore.
Is now an oceanographic lab, and it's also a retreat for a Unitarian church, which is very Star Island is, I'm sorry. And it's really interesting because the Unitarians come in from the mainland, either Boston or any place they can catch a ferry to take them in. And in the evening, it's quite a sight. They all dress in black and they sort of parade around Star Island and they chant, which is a very interesting thing to us. And the first time we were there 25 years ago, we tried to take the dog ashore and were chased off the island because we were told that animals were not permitted on the island.
So one other little tidbit is that Maine annexed these islands in 1696, and then in 1758, New Hampshire annexed these islands here. Onward. Here we go.
Oh,
Well, sometimes the journey is so long that the crew gets tired. And sometimes we pick up hitchhikers. And when we do get there, gosh, Dad, can you just take me ashore? At the end of the day, it's always beautiful. Mostly.
unless it's not.
Why do we go to Maine? You ever seen these critters before? So these huge claws differentiate the Maine lobsters from lobsters in the Caribbean, lobsters in California, or any place else. And this photo doesn't do it justice, but these two claws are actually a different size and a different shape. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but essentially the bigger claw is used for crushing. The smaller claw is used for ripping.
I didn't know that.
And if you don't have a disabled parking sticker in Maine and you're a lobsterman, it doesn't matter. You've always got this.
All right, too bad you can't hear our chuckles. We're all on mute.
Say again?
I said, too bad you can't hear our chuckles. We're all on mute, but we're laughing.
We're a good crowd.
Yeah, hey, hey,
Well, Maine produces 100 million pounds of lobster per year. The largest lobster was, I can't see that, but it's 44 pounds. And
Yeah, I'm gonna help out here because the text on the right is being blocked by the captions, the
you
photos.
can see the.
But anyway, they produce about 100 million pounds per year, and the largest lobster ever caught was about 44 pounds, and it was over 100 years old. And lobsters don't die of old age; they die of cannibalism. All right, you heard that correctly. They don't die of old age; they die of cannibalism.
And they also, during their lifespan, they molt. Now, what does that mean? Molt means that they shed their skin, and it's sort of like when your child grows out of their shoes, when your child grows out of their shirt, you get rid of it.
And you get bigger clothes and bigger shoes.
You get bigger clothes and bigger shoes and harder shells. So can you eat the molted lobsters? Yes, they're very thin skinned. They're a little more, I would say, watery, not as good as the hard shelled lobsters. So that, a little tidbit about lobstering.
Yeah.
And you can actually see in the picture, where's your laser?
Oh.
We lost your laser. You can see the different sizes of the claws in this picture better, I
There we
think.
So I think the last bit of text, as you can read, is the females have bigger tails, but the boys have bigger claws. All right, let's not go there.
Okay, but what
All right.
what you really glossed over was they never die of old age.
They never die of old age. They die of cannibalism.
They will eat their own.
Yeah.
There's a
Cannibalism.
study to be had.
So when they come off the boat, they end up in a place like this. And when the lobster pots are not being used, this is what they look like on the dock. This is what idle lobster boats look like. You can clearly see there are two different kinds of lobster pots, wood and wire. And the real crusty old guys, lobstermen, will tell you, these guys, the wire ones, they're no good. You got to use the wood ones. Why? Because when the lobsters crawl up and they touch wood, because it's organic, it feels better. So they tend to crawl inside the cage and get caught.
Need to talk about the lobster racing.
And yeah, so the other thing is that once a year, it's in a place called Winter Haven, Winter Harbor, which is pretty far down east. Lobstermen get together on a Sunday and they have lobster boat races. And I don't know what time in the morning they start drinking, but it sure is funny.
And they must have over 100 lobster boats just racing each other in different classes. It's like racing a sailboat, different classes. It's so fun to watch.
And here's sunset on a couple of lobster boats at low tide. Look at that low tide. There are low tides. I mean, the tidal range in Maine can be up to 20, 25 feet. It's just incredible. Here's your typical lobster shack. This photo is colorized. I have nothing to do with it. But
It's typical.
just want to point out, see the seaweed? Seaweed is beautiful for two reasons. It's beautiful for cooking lobsters. We'll get into that later. It's also for protecting the harvest at low tide.
Lobstermen, lobster people, and their four-legged crew always around. They always seem to have a dog, which we appreciate because we do too. But this lobboat right now is just in idle mode. They're just anchored out near us and just having a wonderful, wonderful weekend with their dogs and the board. And looks like they're having a good time, but it seems like the cooler is up. So who knows what's going on in there.
All right, where do we find lobsters? Well, if you're brave enough, you can get up before dawn, like the lobstermen do. And actually, that's our wake-up call. The thunder and the roar of those large diesel engines in those lobster boats surrounding us, doing circles around us, is just incredible. It's quite a wake-up call. So it wakes us up, it wakes the dog up. So the dog gets excited because she likes the action. So we jump in the dinghy with a bucket and 2 cold beers and $10 bill. We dinghy up to a lobsterman, hand him the bucket, and he hands us back dinner for tonight.
Now you can imagine when we're coming into an anchorage like this, all these boats have their lobster pots out in the bay coming into the anchorage. So what do? It's a slalom course where you just have to go around the buoys, around the buoys, around the pots, and hope that you don't ever snag one.
Yeah,
Now,
the pros and cons of navigating lobster buoys in Maine, unlike out here in California, you come out here to California, you might see a few lobster buoys out at the end of Zuniga Jetty, no big deal. But imagine if the entire entrance to San Diego Bay, from the Zuniga Jetty straight across over to Cabrillo, imagine if it was lined every 10 feet with a lobster buoy, what you would have to do. So the pros and cons of trying to navigate that in a sailboat versus a powerboat. In the sailboat, you're going slow enough so that you can actually see them in enough time and navigate around them. The worst part about that is that you've got a keel that's maybe 5 or 6 or 7 feet, and that's a little bit of a problem. So the nice thing about the powerboat is you don't have that keel, but you're going so fast that it literally becomes a slalom course. It's incredible.
well, having said that, do we really have to go that fast?
Hammer down, honey child.
Uh-huh.
So when we bring the lobsters back, the first mate has to inspect them to make sure they're legal limit and they are hard shell, because we don't like to put up with those soft shell guys. And then when we get the lobsters on board, first has to inspect them again. Make sure.
That's their golden retriever.
Yep.
Read the rubber bands.
And
And then sometimes we play with our lobsters.
kids, please don't play with your food, kids.
Oh,
And don't try this at home.
All right, so we're getting ready to cook some lobsters for you. And
Grill in the back.
yeah, the grill is, so obviously the grill, where's the fishing rod? There's the fishing rod that we try to use in vain. We're the worst at it. But anyway, down here, we've got one lobster that's wrapped up like an enchilada. So the way we start is tin foil, aluminum foil, and then you can't quite see it, but there is seaweed. And then you lay the lobster on the seaweed and you wrap it up and it becomes an enchilada like this, going on to the next. And this is another shot at it. And of course, the first mate has to make sure we're doing it just right. We screw up, she's not going to let us know, let us ever hear the end of it. So anyway, the purpose of this seaweed is to insulate the lobster from the fire on the barbecue. And here we are on this cheap little West Marine barbecue. It's just big enough for 2 1.5 pound lobsters. And so the recipe, I'm going to turn over to the executive chef of our good ship.
Well, what we do on board to keep the galley clean, okay, we collect the seaweed at low tide, take the dinghy out, pick the seaweed, and we line the aluminum foil with the seaweed. Then we put the lobster on top and roll it up like an enchilada. We cook it on the barbecue, and our barbecue, and I'm sure many of you have a bigger barbecue than we do, but our barbecue only holds 2 lobsters at a time. And so enough for 2 of us, wrap it up and cook it 20 minutes. We serve it on deck so nothing goes down below, and you just toss the shells over your shoulder unless you're down below, which is not a good thing. Then you wake up to shells in the morning.
No muss, no fuss.
So is it still alive at that point when you're trying to wrap it and everything?
Oh, yeah.
We're not talking about that.
Newbie here asking dumb questions.
Talk to Lanny Cornell. He's the fish doctor. All right.
Yes.
So once a year there is the Lobster Festival. It happens to be in Rockland, Maine, and in Penobscot Bay. And
Many of you watch Netflix. This is much better.
so at the end of the Lobster Festival, the highlight are the lobster crate races. So what you see here is just the surface of the lobster crates. They're floating on the surface, and they have one rope strung from this dock to a dock way over here that you can't quite see.
We can't see, they can't.
And so they start out with over 100 contestants. The entry fee for adults is $12. For kids under 12, it's free. And so all the macho big guys who are fantastic high school or college athletes, they go first. They make it to about 1, 2, 3, 4. If they're lucky, they make it to crate number 5, and they go A over T into the water. And a big roar goes up from the crowd, and they get eliminated. And so after about an hour and a half, the eliminations come down to one finalist. It happens to be this little 10-year-old girl. She weighs about 80 pounds, and here we go.
Good for her.
Oh,
And she was the champion.
all right.
And she won it last year also.
It was great, yeah. It's just so much fun to watch, and it's such a celebration up there. The seasons up in New England are a celebration. Celebrate Memorial Day, we celebrate the 4th of July, we celebrate community days like this. It's just a huge celebration. Everybody comes out. It's very fun.
Well, she deserves another shot. Here we go.
Think we're talking Olympic.
She makes it look so simple, but I got to tell you, it is so difficult. No, I have not tried it. I've seen better men than I try it. I'm not going to try it. All right, we're moving on here. Where are we?
Report.
Oh, yes, Kenny Bunkport. So we're at number 6 here. All right. Why do we stop there? We stop to see friends, but there's also an additional attraction. More behind us on the dock, you might see a rib and you might see a center console. Gee, what's special about that? Oh, what could these guys be guarding?
Kitty Bunkport.
Let me see. Ooh, here's the center console. Could the Secret Service be guarding this one? What could be in that circle? Is there a close-up? Oh, what could that be? Could it be the presidential seal of George Bush, number 41? He loved to hang out. He was a great fisherman. He did it till the day he died.
They have a summer home in Kitty Bunkport out on the point. Wonderful property that was built in the 1800s. And it used to be fun to sort of watch what was going on. Yeah.
So why we come to Lobsterland? Well, we'll look at lighthouses also. We're gonna, oh,
Well, so you're doing passages through little islands, and what do you see? You see a tree. And what would the tree be decorated with?
Lobster.
Lobster buoys.
what do lobstermen decorate their Christmas trees with? What else? There we go. Another beautiful shot.
At the end of the day. And the coastline of
And here we
Maine
go.
this is why we go. The
This is it.
coastline is spectacular.
Speaks for itself.
Coming in from the ocean is so different than coming in from land. It really is. And all those little islands, you can go just anchor there.
You guys see all this seaweed? Under that seaweed is dinner. It's called mussels. Another lighthouse on another island. All right.
There are 57 active lighthouses in Maine, and there's 65 total, but 57 active.
We're gonna have to speed up. I don't want to put you guys to sleep here. So here's the next stop is Monhegan Island. It is
Oh.
hands down our most favorite stop. It's 12 miles offshore. So here is the old hotel that was built back in the 1800s, Monhegan Island. This this anchorage, this harbor, is actually a very rough passage. You can exit to the left, you can exit to the right. It's just a spectacular place, great stuff. This is what it looks like from Monhegan Island. Here's our dinghy, here's our boat, here's Monhegan Island. And
what you can see in the background is a little bit of fog. Now understand that Maine has a lot of fog. There have been times when we have to trust our instruments and just, take it slow and make our way through if we need to get to the next place.
so the thing about Monhegan is it's so rustic and so out of the way that there are no mooring balls to rent. So when you pull in, you get on 16, you call the harbor master who owns the local lobster shack, and you ask him, which lobsterman's buoy can I pull up for tonight? He knows which guys are gone for a week. And here's just another shot of the anchorage, a couple of pups going for a swim. And this is how the lobstermen get ashore. This is the backside of the harbor master's office and his fish shack, where you can get great lobster rolls and good chowder.
And this is one of just the one store on land, and it's sort of like no shoes, no shirt, no problem. We'll serve you anyway. It's our dog and their dog, and now since we've been cruising up there for 25 years, our dog has met every single one of her dogs, the woman who owns the shop.
And you can be guaranteed those old wooden floors are covered with sand and salt. Well, the place only had 75 people. How many people does it take to put in school?
It's still operational. Monhegan School is still operational. And after grammar school, the kids now have to take a ferry ashore, or they have to go live ashore to continue on their education.
One-room library. Before there was Facebook and Twitter, this is what social media used to look like.
And it's very much an artist colony. So there is actually an art museum. This is not it, but this is a representation of the art that, anytime you walk up and down the trails, which the hiking is amazing in Monhegan, as you can see.
A little bit of hiking. We're going to try to speed it up here so you guys don't burn dinner on the stove.
No need to speed up.
What are you going to do with the bathtub when you're finished with it?
And those of you who were in our house in Rhode Island saw what we did with our bathtub.
Just a typical harbor master's office. Great,
Hiking.
great hiking.
It's
Awesome
just
hiking.
amazing.
Yeah.
And then we actually hiked this and looking out for the ocean.
Oh,
And this is our Sadie, which many of you know, and you can check Chick's shirt out, the oar from Black Island, really? And where's the birdie? Sleeping on Chick's belly.
All right.
Happy cruisers. A little bit of scenery.
Oh.
All right. So every once in a while, you pick up a mooring line that somebody hasn't used in a really, really long time. Those are not ants. Those little black dots are not ants. Those are mussels in their earliest stage of life. And you know, I got to go ashore and get mussels, and who's waiting for me when I get back? The first mate.
Let's see.
These guys are legal limit, and we get them at low tide. They're hidden under the seaweed. We just grab them off the seaweed, and then if they need a little bit of shucking, we're happy to do that.
But we have a fun story about mussling on one of the islands we really enjoy. Our dog, our Sasha dog, our golden retriever, was with us, and we always take her, you know, it's low tide, and we just sort of tie off the dinghy and go mussling. Well, we started finding crabs in the bucket, rock crabs that are maybe about 4 inches wide.
Underwater, right there.
And Chick looked at me and said, "Are you picking crabs?" And I said, "No, I don't think so. I'll just go mussels." And all of a sudden, there were all of these crabs in our bucket. And we were watching the dog. She was dunking her head, bringing up a crab. Being the retriever she is, she shook her head and dumped it in the bucket. I must have had 8 rock crabs, which are very, very hard shell. They're cold water hard shell. And I felt so badly that, okay, she wasn't picking mussels, but I had to cook her crabs. So the next day I had to cook the crabs.
So I don't know if you can teach a dog to do that, but we didn't teach her.
No, natural.
Mother Nature had something to do with it. So after we're finished with the mussels,
We have the recipe.
oh, the recipe,
The
yes.
recipe. So
Right.
this is our onboard recipe for mussels. You pick the mussels. You really don't have to clean them because they're going to open up anyway. And we add herbs, onions, tomato, beer or wine. You don't have to add water. And the reason is they're so full of water that they open up anyway. Steam them till they're open. I do it on the stove, but I guess you could do it on a barbecue. If the mussel doesn't open, do not eat it. Just toss it. And then what we do, we eat outside. I mean, that's our dinner. And you just toss it over the board.
Yep. No fuss, no muss.
And my girl helping me clean.
So here we are, Penobscot Bay. And, you know, again, you can spend an entire summer. You can spend many summers in Penobscot Bay, anchor in a different place every night and never anchor in the same place twice.
A different island, a
it's
different
incredible.
inlet. And that's us anchored out in Penobscot Bay at the top of Edmund Reach in Vinyl Haven, which is way north of Penobscot.
So for those of you sailors who know what a reach is, it's neither a beat upwind, nor is it downwind, but a reach is, you know, maybe a close reach or a broad reach, or it's a beam reach, but it's a mostly pleasant point of sail. And the Eggemocken Reach is known because of the prevailing summer winds. When most of the boats are in the water, you've always got a reach, and a reach always puts a happy face on any sailor. And this is at the top end of Vinyl Haven Island.
And the other thing I might mention is that one home lives on an island. That is an island.
Yeah, this is an island. You guys have heard of Camden, Maine, one of the most picturesque places in an entire country, actually.
There's so much to do there. There's theater. There's, believe it or not, there's theater. People come up from New York and they do summer theater, cabaret. There's lots of wonderful restaurants and arts and crafts. It's just a.
Speaking of summer cabaret, a lot of it is manned by college students, which makes it really extra special. All right, we gotta go ashore again.
Oh.
Okay, here we are.
Is it you?
So folks, in Penobscot Bay is a place called North Haven Island. And the place is so big that their annual codfish parade has to go around through town twice. They get from one end to the other, they got to turn around and go back the other way.
And it's, again, a community event, community days, they call it. And there's there's the parade, and then there's.
And after the parade, we go on to the codfish relay race. So look at the size of this guy's boots. Not too visible here. Look at the size of his outfit. Not too visible. But here's a young man, I'm saying probably in his teens. Here we go. Watch this.
What's he?
Oh, that's big.
So some of you might be asking, well, why is he running so slow?
Ooh, blueberries.
Why is he running so slow? Well, if you were wearing like size 15 or 20 boots, how fast could you run? And if you were carrying a 20 to 25 foot cod, or 25 pound cod, you know, how fast could you possibly run with that thing? Well, by the time they're finished, there are like 100 contestants, and they're handing off the cod to the next relay team member, and they're taking off the lobsterman's suit and boots, and the next team member is putting it on, and then they have to run back down the other end of the street. By the time all this is said and done, at the end of 2 hours of running up and down the street with a dead cod with the guts hanging out, it's pretty smelly on this street. So what happens? Do you remember that fire engine you saw a couple slides ago? They get out the hose and just wash off the street.
It's a total community event. Everybody comes out, and it's just a hoot. That's so much fun. Maine produces 90% of blueberries, but they're wild blueberries, and you can see from the size they're really, really tiny. Unlike what we're getting here now. I mean, we love blueberries. So that's one package we get. What do?
Oh, yeah.
Put it in our cereal, and I make,
Sure.
well, we put it in our cereal,
Cereal.
but we also make pancakes. And by the way, there's bacon over
Yeah,
there at the end,
By the way, this is just an excuse to eat this.
which is bacon.
All good.
All right, so Maine is littered with iconic yacht clubs. And as you can tell from this, the dock is bigger than the yacht club itself. Because the most important thing are these incredible yachts that transit between their summer homes in Maine and their winter homes in Florida or the Bahamas or the Caribbean. So this beautiful clubhouse, this happens to be in Winter Harbor, and most of the clubhouses have no insulation, no heat. They're open from Memorial Day until Labor Day, possibly until Columbus Day, if you're lucky. So onward to Roque Island, which we make the last stop in our journey. We have been further, but this is one of our favorite stops also. Roque Island is another archipelago. It has this awesome beach here.
Crescent Beach that is just all beautiful sand.
And why do we go there? Because there's nothing there. That's why we go there. There's nothing there. It's incredible. And so this is a really active activity in Roque Island. That's how busy this place is. Stay tuned. A little bit of scenery. You guys all know what this mizzen sail is for, right? So when the wind comes up, it comes in off the bow, and if you don't want your boat swinging back and forth 90 degrees from one end to the other, you put up a mizzen sail, and it steadies the boat when the breeze comes up to 25, 30 knots. She'll stay steady in the breeze. little bit of scenery. And this is a little video, the north end of Somme Sound that you might have heard of.
Some Sound is a
There's our
fjord.
boat.
It's the
fjord.
only fjord in in the Northeast.
I don't know how to pause this. Can you pause the video? Anyway, so we're gonna play that back again because I don't know how to pause this video. But
That's
anyway,
Mount Desert Island. Isn't
yeah,
it?
that's Mount Desert Island. So when you get to the house, our friends built their house over stilts over this man-made lake or pond.
Up at the top.
Just incredible imagination and incredible architecture.
Wow.
Dime a dozen.
Yeah. Just another catboat in beautiful Maine. Every once in a while, mermaids need to take a break.
Another beautiful sunset.
These are-
Off to land and lighthouses. If you don't like it, don't come here. Folks,
Night.
folks, this is the end of our journey, and we are ready, willing, and able for, I don't know if people have been posting to chat. I'm not sure how we get into that. I'm going to ask my
We have our
technical wizard here to help us out with that,
There's
just in case there are any questions.
Well, Chick,
You're muted.
no, I'm not.
Yes, you are. I muted you. You're muted.
It's good. We can hear you. We can hear you, Brad.
You know, let me ask, I have just one question. Do you take stowaways on your boat?
We, during the day, we can take up to 10 stowaways, but when it comes to bedtime, we don't take any stowaways at all.
You need to be dressed like a dog.
Right?
Well, no, they go overboard and the water's really cold there.
What do you guys see on the screen right now?
So, Chick, I don't know if you can see the chat questions. Do you see? You want-
We're getting there.
Click on.
Okay,
chat
we're
and
getting
stuff.
there.
We see a red
Looks like
sunset.
there's five, okay, there's five chat questions here. Okay. From Lance Murphy. He says thanks. And thank you, Lance, for all your support. Oh, from Jerry and Carol. Where are you going to set up a charter trip for us all? Yes, thank you for the reminder. We have sussed it out, and there are 4 charter companies spread out through Maine. Let Google be your friend. Your incoming fleet captain will give you choices for future not charters, but
Opportunities.
fleet cruises. And I think one of them is going to be Croatia, which is a great choice. And obviously one of them will be Maine. And we can probably fit them all in if we have enough years left in us.
Bruce and Megan are in.
Really cool.
All of the above, Megan?
Absolutely.
And so from Dee Van Horn, she says, fantastic. Thanks, everybody. Pam Wright, great adventure and thanks. And Dan McCune, great presentation. Jennifer Kammerer, fantastic. I see why you go each year. Thank you. And you're absolutely spot on. It's in our blood, and we are beginning this coming summer. We're starting our second quarter century of doing the same thing. Never get tired of it. Rob Pinkel says thanks, and Dave Grundy says we're ready to go. Thanks for the opportunity to visit Maine. And those guys must have an inkling of what it's like because they have a down east lobster boat. And then our friends from back east say thanks, Chick and Alexis. These are friends of ours from Long Island and Baltimore checking in. Look forward to seeing you on the right coast. And then Ron Davis, who also spends his summers back in Rhode Island, says, wonderful, thanks for sharing. Megan, I want to be your dog. All right, Megan. And from Carol and Jerry, now we know, anyway, I think I said that. So when you wrap the prop, how cold is the water? Oh, that's a story.
Oh, that's a
All
whole
right.
other story.
All right. All right. I don't know if we have time. All right. A quick story. So we pulled into Roque Island. We thought we had wrapped our prop because we had hit at 25 knots. We had hit 3 lobster buoys in a row in spite of how careful we tried to be. And so I look at the water temperature. It's 57 degrees. There's no way this old geezer is putting his 74-year-old bag of bones in that water and having a stroke. So fortunately, there were a bunch of lobstermen around, and I found a young one, and he was spending his off time on his jet ski, and he had a wetsuit. So I gave him a nice cold beer, and I said, would you just go down and take a look? So he put on his mask and snorkel, went down and gave us the thumbs up. Our prop was free and clear. So that's how we do it in Maine.
Hey,
So
Chip, final question.
go ahead, Brad.
Down east.
That's a great question.
Oh,
Why do you call it down east?
We should,
I totally glossed over that. So as you guys probably remember from the maps, the charts, we're going from the lower left-hand side of the screen to the upper right-hand side of the screen. And it's pretty normal to call that going from southwest to down to northeast. So if you're going north, why do they call it down east? Well, in the summertime, the prevailing wind is from the southwest. So if you're a sailor and you got the wind to your back, you are going downwind, and that's all that matters if you're a sailor. So that's why you go down east, even though you're going northeast. Thanks for the good question, Brad.
Well, thank you, Chick and
Oh.
Alexis. It's a wonderful story, and your personal experiences make it so
Oh,
engaging. So we want to be there with you.
wow.
And, you know, if we could stow away, we would. Maybe we will.
The whole cruising fleet.
The whole
right?
cruising fleet. But anyway, my thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Chick and Alexis. Appreciate it very much. We'll miss you this summer.
Thank you for sharing our adventure.
Thanks for the last 45 minutes, you guys. It was great. Great
Yeah,
sharing with
thank
you.
so much.
So,
Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Have a
Night.
good sunset.
bye, guys.